Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. Just put this like this. And so this is another live show coming to you from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And hope that everybody's going to have fun as we talk about radio. So let me open the beer. The usual fin du monde, which is the end of the world beer. And here we go. Let's open this. There we go. Now that was the sound of a cork. So this is a live show. We are here twice a week. We are here on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That is Thursday for most people at 0 hours UTC. And we are live on Saturday at, let me just get a little more comfortable in the way that I'm going to do it. There we go. And we are live, of course, on, trying to put the camera a little closer here. Still very sunny outside, so. And of course, we are live on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's 20 hours Universal Time. And of course, we try to entertain and have fun talking about radio. And I'm just going to do a little something here because it's not cold enough for my hoodie, but I will do a little something with I'll put a shirt on. Here we go. And I feel less naked. So hey everybody, gotta be beautiful for you guys. And let's just do this. So there's a little bit of sun, but it's gonna be gone soon. So let's deal with the. That's what makes the picture kind of foggy. I don't know if I could use something to help out here. What about if I use this? Like I don't know where that is. That's where it is. Of course, it has to be on the upper side. There we go. That helps a little bit. So welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave radio show. We are live, and we talk about shortwave radio in general, tune the bands, chase pirates, and just have plain fun talking about radio. Hope that you will enjoy today's show. And of course, we have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people that are fantastic and that we just help each other, have fun, and just enjoy something that is really cool, the radio hobby in general. And this is a lot of fun to share. And, I always say how I would have loved to have something like this when I started with radio back in 1982. But, we do with what we have, of course. And what else do we have? We have a Facebook group. And that Facebook group, official SWL channel, more than 1,400 members, where we talk about radio and continue to party and share what is happening, when this show is over. So I hope that you will enjoy today's show. So, chat room. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And let me take my first sip of beer for tonight. Cheers. So today, kind of relaxed show. We'll check the email, see if anybody's there too. And in the email, we have Elizabeth saying hello from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And we have Rico that is in El Salvador that says hello. And first time that he's checking in. Love this show. Has a question about solar activity. We're going to get to this in a few minutes. I'm just going to say hello to everybody in the chat room, and we're going to get to the question. So, Tim Lewis, nice to have you here from East End of Long Island. We have Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL in Louisiana, USA. Simplio, nice to have you on board, my friend. And he's got a Ethon Elite Executive. I think that's a great little radio. In general, most of these radios are fine. One of the things that we often talk about new radios. We often talk about some radios that are available. And one thing we don't realize is when we talk a lot about radios that are available, new radios, it might sometimes give an idea to people that maybe their old radio isn't up to par with what should be. And what happens is that they think they should buy a new radio to replace the old one that they use. But in reality, if your radio is decent, even if it's 20 years old, it doesn't matter. If your radio is decent, it is just going to be fine with shortwave, and you don't need necessarily to buy a new radio. The objective here with the channel is we talk about new radios because it's cool. I like, I'm one of those crazy nut people that buy too many radios, and some of us are, and some of us like to have new radios, new technologies. It's kind of fun to have a new toy, but we don't necessarily, it's not to push any radio on anyone or tell anybody you should get a new radio. In reality, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have Panasonics or Sony receivers or real Grundig radios from the past, you know what? You've got fine radios. You don't really need to have something new. You don't need that Texan PL-330 or whatever. You are fine. I think what is often overlooked, and we see it because people buy new radios and end up saying, well, I'm not getting that much. And the biggest problem is the antenna and the noise. It really, really gets down to antenna and noise. If you have a lot of noise where you are, it already limits the number of signals you're actually getting at your location. Plus, um, trying to get the best antenna possible is the best way to do it. An MLA 30, for example, for noisy situations, sometimes it can do miracles. It all depends on your setup, and I would look more into the noise you have and the antennas that you can actually put up, probably before buying another radio. Because, anyways, if you get a new radio and the conditions are not right, bad antenna or too noisy, you're not going to have more. You're not going to be impressed. You're just going to have spent money on a new radio. And in reality, maybe you should have spent money on a loop antenna, for example, magnetic loop antenna that often lowers noise. That might have given you more reception of whatever out there is available than actually getting a new radio. Remember that a new radio, even if it's a slightly better, a new radio, if your conditions in your location are not right and noisy and the antenna is no good, it ain't going to be a better radio. You're just going to have a new radio that doesn't get much. So I think the antenna is first thing to look at, and your conditions, the noise around you also is what can you do about it if you can, because it happens very often you can't do anything about the noise you have. But these are more important in reality than actually getting, that new radio, the new fancy radio. So whatever you have, anyways, is fine probably for shortwave listening, and that's cool, And whatever your radio you have, be happy. Be happy. Laura Robertson, nice to have you on board from Georgia, KO4DFJ. The Vaults, nice to have you here from Latvia. Long time no see. Matt, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. Here it's about 32 Fahrenheit right now, which is about 0 Celsius. It's rather warm for this time of year. The actual temperatures we should have at this time of year, because January is the coldest month for Montreal, we should be at about -7, -8 in the daytime as a high, which is, maybe 20 Fahrenheit or something, or even less, 15, 20 Fahrenheit. And we should drop down to about -15 or 16 in the night, which is, close to the 0 Fahrenheit mark. And we aren't getting there. This year, we're hovering most of the time in the 0-ish, 32 Fahrenheit daytime temperatures. And at night, it doesn't really go down much more than about -7 or 8. So it is actually warmer than we are supposed to have at this time. We haven't reached a minus. The coldest we had a -18 one night in December, which is 0 Fahrenheit. I think it's the coldest we've had, and we had it only one night yet. And if I look, I was looking at the 2-week forecast, and the 2-week forecast here looks pretty much the same temperature, 0. Even there's a few days above 0, which it's warm. It's much warmer than usual here for this time of year. That's definitely the case. Doesn't mean it can't change, and January, February are pretty hard, heavy months here. So we could have some real cold spells still, and we haven't really had a snowstorm yet. We've had 6 inches, about 15 centimeters of snow on near New Year's Day, but we haven't had any more snow since, really. So there's snow. It's white, but it's not. There's more snow than that on the ground usually at this time of year also. So that also, and we had a couple of storms that actually were rain rather than snow, which is happening more and more actually. Global warming is showing up because they were saying that here in Montreal, I think the temperatures, that when we have snowstorms, they were saying that usually the temperatures rise much more than they did, 40 years ago. And we have more rainstorms and ice storms than we have snowstorms now, which was mostly snowstorms when I was young. So there are changes, that's for sure, in the weather patterns. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Yes, sunny, and it's been sunny for 4 or 5 days now. Feels good actually, because here we're getting today is the first day of back to heavy confinement. Everything's closed except the grocery stores and the pharmacies. And we actually have some new stuff. At 6 p.m. today on my phone, we're supposed to have an alert because there's a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. starting today, and for 1 month, 4 weeks, we are not allowed to be outside 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Or else we could have from $1,000 to $6,000 fine if you have no real reason to be outside at night. And it's totally out of control here. The COVID, we've got 3,000. For the first time, we hit more than 3,000 cases today here in Quebec, which is completely nuts. And the hospitals are going a little nuts also. They're like 60%, more than 60% of the COVID beds are now used. So it's putting a hard stress on our system here. So let's hope for the best and that the vaccine comes as fast as we can, because it's totally nuts now. Enough about that. What else do we have? Jeff Williams, nice to have you on board from Cornwall, UK. Brawler, nice to have you here from Arkansas. Pagemaster, nice to have you on board from Oklahoma. Meowder Mr. Paul, KC5VOY, WA5136SWL. What else do we have? Trimbali, Mr. Bale, nice to have you here. PLF Radio, bonjour et bonsoir. Bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Et une bonne et heureuse année à toi. James Johnson, nice to have you on board. Good afternoon. VE2FJG, FGJ, sorry. I have a hard time mixing up the G's and the J's. I never understood why we don't pronounce it the same. It's reversed from French. Salut de Québec, bienvenue. What else do we have? NL13851, nice to have you on board, my friend, from the Netherlands. René Charbonnier, the Dutch pirate. Nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Radio Telescope, nice to have you on board from the UK. M0ISA. Abe Lincoln, nice to have you here. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Can you hear 8416, 8418-ish? 8416 is Navtex usually. Let's see what I have here. I really need to position myself better for... we're going to do a little change here. There we go. So... right now, not hearing anything here, but 8416-ish. Just, you guys are going to see my little profile side. And I'm going to try to unjam my leg. Here we go. So 8416-ish is usually Navtex. It's one of the frequencies of Navtex. I usually hear, very often hear Argentina sending Navtex on that frequency. Snowflakes drifting on the screen. That was weird. What else do we have? Yeah, Amazon is not. I mean, when the price is right, it's not too bad. But honestly, man, a lot of the shortwave radios are on Amazon are way too expensive for what they are. Way too expensive. What else do we have? So when I stood up, there were some snowflakes. I bring snow everywhere. What else do we have? So let me just go down here, see who I'm missing out. Vaults is envious of the sunlight. Says they haven't had any a sunny day this year. Yeah, we've been having sun quite a few days now. It's really, really nice because, with short days like we have right now, one of the biggest problems is when it's cloudy and very, very gray, dark. It kind of hits you a little bit. So I wish you some sun soon, Vaults. Kimberly, nice to have you here from California, K6YYL. David, KJ4CMY. Picture is foggy. I'm kind of foggy too. Yeah, my brain is always foggy, so it's all right. It all goes together. All goes together. Catalin, nice to have you here from Germany. Trembling, Mr. Bale, how much Morse code is there on 14 megahertz? A lot of ham on the radio around Montreal. There are some amateur radio operators in the south part of the province of Quebec that are quite active. Especially when I go on, if there's DX stations, I often hear some VE2s that are in the Montreal area trying to make DX contacts. The other thing that I see is 80 meters. 80 meters has a fair share of Quebecers on the amateur bands. Usually they speak French, but there's a surprising amount of amateur. And for Morse code, there's always activity on Morse. CW is one of those modes where you almost always hear something, whatever frequency range when propagation's right. Always in the bottom part of the frequency range. Bernie Dodge, nice to have you here from San Diego. Too early for beer. Yeah, it's a little early over there. It's still noon. 3 p.m. here isn't too bad. It's my threshold. I always, when people ask me, so what's, what time do you drink? I said, well, if I will drink one day, I will actually drink my threshold. I do not go or drink before 3 p.m. It's a rule, except for Christmas, New Year, my birthday, and maybe if I'm camping. But apart from that, it's mostly, I try to stay at that rule all the time. So what else do we have? What do you mean no DX, Abe Lincoln? There's a lot of stuff out there. Michael W., nice to have you here. Tristan, nice to have you on board from Newfoundland, Canada. Volcano Time-Lapse, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. Cyberflyer 1, Happy New Year. Nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? No problem. Switching to the laptop. PLF Radio, hope the Texan 330 will be fixed about the issues you mentioned. You know what? I almost clicked buy to buy the official version and compare it with the Chinese version. And at the same time, I was thinking, well, I'll compare both. And who knows, maybe there could be eventually someday a Texan PL-330 giveaway. Well, I don't know. I'm going to check it out. Because $59.99 it's really cheap, and I have to say, so this is the little radio we're talking about, the famous Texan PL-330. So the one I have here is the Chinese market version, and it has bugs. Firmware version that I have is 3303 or 3304. I forgot. 3304, I think. It still is a surprising radio. Honestly, I still, even with the bugs that it has, I like it. If I would have to compare it to something, I would say this is a mini Texan PL-990. And what I mean by that is that it has pretty much the same features. All of the features that 990 has is in here. But the only difference, well, there are a few differences are, of course, it doesn't have Bluetooth or SD card playback, is that it has regular sound. It sounds standard. You know, the audio sounds like a regular portable rather than the 990's high-end audio that you get out of the speaker. And the other thing is that this one is DSP based, so do understand that you are going to get a radio that has muting when you tune around the frequencies, because this one is direct DSP like most portables that are out today. Where the Texan PL-990 and 990X are so they have triple conversion, and so the tuning is done at a level where there's no muting of the audio, which makes it much more interesting to get. So it's a surprising package. I mean, for when I saw that the Anonco was at $59.99, I'm like, well, a surprising package of surprising features for $59.99, and including the fine tuning. I mean, when you're in single sideband, so let me just put the volume down here. So when you're in single sideband, you actually have up to 1/10 of a hertz tuning. So sorry for the burp in case you heard it. So this is pretty surprising. It's just that the fine tuning is reversed. So that's the biggest bug here, is when you tune around in fine tuning. But the problem is it reverses. So if you're in the upper sideband, you're actually going the wrong way when you're tuning. I've never had the problem like that on the radio. So let's hope that is fixed, because it's not that it's that big of a problem. You can punch in the frequency and you'll be okay. But when you tune, it will, if you're on fine tuning and single sideband, you're off frequency. You need to tune in 1 kilohertz increments instead, and then go to the fine tune if you want. But that's a weird thing. The ETM functionality also kind of kicks in randomly sometimes when you're doing something and you're like, what? I haven't asked for ETM scan. A few little things like that that are kind of weird, but it's a sensitive radio. Be warned, if you buy one, that it is powered by a small BL5C lithium-ion battery, rechargeable. You might want to get some spare batteries, because it is, if you want to have a long enough battery life. Although I never had any problems with battery life. This one here is rated at 1,000 milliamp hour, the one that they give with it, which is a Texan branded one. The fun thing, at least with this, is that it's an easy battery to find, because it's a Nokia phone battery. So it's easy to find. If it's easy to find, so you can actually purchase one. And also that there's no stand in the back to put it at an angle on a table, for example. I gotta say, I do miss the stand. I've been like putting it. Well, I'm lucky because I have a little stand here that somebody made me. But when you have it on the table, you kind of put it. I put a book or something so that it's at an angle because it doesn't have the plastic stand, and they should have put the plastic stand. It would have helped. It's something I do miss. It's when you don't have something that you notice that you miss that something. So it's officially released on Anonco. Pre-orders are starting Monday. This is January 11th. So if you're in North America, probably Sunday night, you can go to the website and order it. It's going to be interesting to see. I hope that they fix the bugs. I've seen only a couple of articles of people that talk about it. No one yet has one. So is the reverse bug fixed? I hope it is. Matt, how long until my AirSpy Discovery HF Plus is delivered? It should be as fast as we can because it's expedited shipping. Let me check out here if I have. So if I go on the website here, details, shipping, tracking says that, so the last tracking I have here is January 7th and says that it's at Chicago, Illinois International Distribution Center. So that was January 7th. So we'll see. It's expedited shipping. It's U.S. Postal Service, I've noticed here, but it's expedited shipping, which means it's Canada Post that's going to bring it. I hope I'm not going to get, I probably will get an extra fee to pay, but anyways, we'll see, because usually anything above $50, you have to pay the sales tax in Canada. So if I do have to pay sales tax, that means that it's going to actually amount to almost 300 Canadian dollars for the AirSpy Discovery HF Plus, which is expensive. But anything that I order from the US, that's why, and it's sad because that's why I almost never order from the United States anymore. More export charges than before. Of course, the Canadian dollar being crappy versus the US dollar in value is not helping. So if I buy something that's 100 US, it's actually costing me 130 Canadian because there's the exchange rate. So all of that together, you just try not to buy much from the United States, because that plus the export fees and everything, you end up with a pretty big bill for something that you purchase. So if you consider that it was 169 US, plus I paid expedited shipping, and it comes to 300 Canadian dollars, it's as if you guys would have paid, 240, 250 US for it. That's why it's kind of difficult sometimes to purchase something. I want to thank a couple of you, though, because I got a couple of donations from some of you that said, hey, you purchased the AirSpy Discovery HF. I wanted to give you a little something so that it compensates for the cost of the radio, because I can't wait for you to test it out and see how it performs. I am extremely curious about it. And I almost wished maybe I should have purchased the U-Loop just to compare it here at the same time. Probably like 2 days after I ordered, I was like, yeah, if you bought that, you should have purchased the U-Loop also to test out. So anyways, we'll be checking that out, and I can't wait to get it. Honestly, crossing my fingers to get it as fast as possible. I can't wait to test out the AirSpy HF Discovery, HF Plus Discovery, honestly, on the shortwave bands, and compare it to the RSPDX that I own. See how they compare to each other. Like I said, I see multiple. It's really two different viewpoints that I actually see when I look at it. So there's one side of the reviews that I see of people saying that the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery is better than the RSP1A, RSPDX. But I get half also of all the reviews that I see with people that have both that say they're pretty much the same. So the best way to really know is to have it and to test it on your own. Because I think one of the things that I've seen mentioned a few times is people say that they get signals on the Discovery that they don't on the SDR Play RSP1A or RSPDX. And my RSPDX is so sensitive that I really doubt that you don't hear something that you hear on the AirSpy. Where I think it's happening and where the people are actually having that problem is in the software they use. Most of the people that I've seen use two different pieces of software for the SDR. So each software is different. The processing is different. The audio processing. I think it's more. And this is my take on it. It's my personal opinion here. I think it's more of a setup of the software and the settings, much more than the two devices being that different from each other. But that I'll know when I get it and I test it and compare it with, of course, the RSPDX that I have. And I can't wait to test it out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here from Missouri. Nice to have you on board. WA0113SWL. What else do we have? Catalin, can't wait to see the review of the HairSpy HF Plus. I can't wait to start playing with it. Carl Icon, greetings from New York. Nice to have you here. I kept getting interference noise on my VHF UHF scanner running on AC adapter, but I found it was an LED light on the same AC circuit. Turn off LED, interference gone. You got to be careful with the lighting systems. LED bulbs, fluorescent, even a lot of halogen lamps that work with 12-volt bulbs have a lot of them have the switching power supplies that are super noisy in them. We got to be careful with that. What else do we have? GHN DJK Man. They are often DSP chipped and made from the same maker of the chip. Well, actually, the chip itself, so the company that makes the chip, the DSP chip for the radios, is silicon integrated. So they don't make radios. They just make the chip, and they upgrade that chip from time to time. So they started with like this silicon integrated 4734. I believe there's a 4735 now. It's 4736. Kind of various versions of that chip, which is a complete radio chip, actually. And there are different manufacturers that actually use that chip. That chip has become extremely popular for a very simple reason. The companies understood that it performs well when the radio is well designed, and it probably makes the radio super cheap to build because that chip, when purchased in bulk, probably costs close to nothing. Canadian radio TV guy watching the stream on a 1977 Panasonic TR555 5-inch black and white CRT using a couple RF modulator. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. One thing that I threw away, and I should not, I had, these little battery portable TVs, black and white TVs. They were like something like that, 5 inches or something. And I had one for years. And when everything went HD TV, and that meant that the TV didn't receive anything anymore, I threw that out. And today I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I should not have thrown that out. I should have kept it, and would have been part of my stuff here. And I could have displayed stuff on it. I mean, I could have used the the RF modulator of the Commodore or something, and display some Commodore 64 picture or stuff, or even the Atari 1040, just for the kicks of it. Laura Robertson, on the Texan radio display, what are the two numbers on the upper right-hand corner? One looks like dB and the other. It's a signal to noise ratio. It's the way that they measure the signal level. So the simplest way to explain it is that the difference between the two numbers has to be the biggest possible. One number is the baseline noise level. The other one is the strength of the signal level. And the bigger the difference between both, the better reception usually you have. So it's really, it's getting common because all the radios that use that DSP chip, that's the way the DSP chip is actually measuring the signal levels. They're all using that, signal to noise ratio, which technically should be more accurate than just a display bar. Honestly, when I look at like the Texan PL-680 or the Texan PL-600, the first thing I noticed is that these bar signal indicators are way out of precision. They are way too sensitive because you get a signal that's not that strong and it just gets to 4 or 5 bars out of 5. That's a nonsense. They are not accurate at all. The only real accurate measures are the radios that are well calibrated with an S meter. Those are decent, especially if they're well calibrated. But any radio that has a 4 or 5 bar graph, most of the time they're totally off. And technically, signal to noise ratio should be more accurate. But that said, when I compare several portables that have signal to noise ratio on the same antenna, I noticed that they aren't necessarily giving the same numbers. So it's kind of it's almost like, if you better by like try to get your signal level by listening by ear. James Johnson still not having success replacing the band spread string. These are a little touchy sometimes, that's for sure. Ryan Jacob, nice to have you on board from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Wondering if you have any recommendations on DRM receivers. Doesn't seem to be much available. Tried the Dream software, but I can't get it to work on Windows 10. So Ryan, KI5GZO. There aren't many out there. If you go on the on Amazon, I believe there's one that is super expensive, like $500 US. I don't know what to say. I'm pretty sure that the way that you want to use it is to dabble with DRM and have fun trying that. Remember that DRM requires such a good signal in order for it to actually decode. It's not something that you'll have necessarily that much fun with. I can't really, one that I've seen a few times, I think is the brand is like Himalaya or something like that. I'm not sure you should invest in one of those, honestly. Especially because here in North America, there's almost nothing broadcasting in DRM. And unless the signal is quite strong, the decodes are no good. So I'm not sure, it's more of you should invest in something else, I think. For sure. For DRM, that's for sure. That's for sure. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here from Los Angeles. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from North Carolina, KM4WRQ. And of course, the sun is back on the camera. That's why it gets all foggy. Don't worry, guys. As the sun sets, it's very soon to be to be gone. There's smoke everywhere. Gordon Lyle, nice to have you here. We'll be getting the first COVID-19 vaccine shot this week. Cool. Randall, nice to have you here from Chicago area. Jet Crafter, Happy New Year from Maine. Nice to have you on board listening to military aviation on UHF scanners right now, but we'll break out shortwave radio in a few. Cool. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona. Nice to have you on board. Jim White from northern Idaho. Nice to have you here. Archer's Crafter's Kitchen from Massachusetts. Just watching football. Happy New Year. Said that there is a country music station on shortwave premiering tonight. A country music station. Really? I hear country music on, is it WWCR that used to have some country music? Or WTWW? I think it's WWCR. Kev Michael, nice to have you here. I still love radios. Cool. Cool. Laura Robertson is a Morse monkey. CW is where it's at. Most CW operators are kind of the big fans of the mode. The Morse code for them is, I think they're going to bring Morse code to their graves. Abe Lincoln, I have a question. What software is available for a Mac to use the line out from my 990X to get a waterfall? I was told that software like that is available as freeware. So the line out that you will have is audio only. So it's only recording audio. If you want to have a waterfall of the audio quality, there are some software for sure that have a waterfall for the audio. But remember that the line out of the 990X is an audio only thing. It's the only thing that it is. Nothing else. It doesn't have data. It is simply a audio thing. There is a possibility to have the 990. I don't know about the Mac, but the 99. Well, it's a standard audio adapter. You can play audio from your Mac. Probably it will recognize it, I would guess, if it's a standard audio interface. Because there is a possibility to play the audio from a computer, a PC, on the 990X. If you have, if you plug in the USB cable and plug it into a PC, you will see that your PC will show that there's an audio device that has appeared on your computer. And from that time, with the USB cable, you hear your PC's audio in the speaker here. So is it working on a Mac? I don't know. For that purpose, it could if it's a standard audio device. But apart from that, like I said, the only thing from the line out is audio. And if you want to record audio, I do believe is it Mac also? Can somebody, just want to check here, Audacity, which I use actually a lot. Audacity for Mac is available, right? Yep. You have a Mac version of it, so Mac OS version. So you can install Audacity, which is a very nice and very complete recording studio on your computer, and record audio from the 990 to your PC or to your Mac or to your Mac Linux, and it's Mac Linux and Windows. So whatever platform you're on, Audacity is really, really good. Vaults. Yeah, I think we now have a lot of pretty much that sense of tuning now. When we with the amount of FT8 available, when a band is open, there's kind of that natural thing now of actually tuning FT8 frequencies to see if signals are if the band's open. I've done it quite a few times. Also, 6 meters, I'll tune the FT8 frequency. If I hear FT8, I know 6 meters is open. It's getting there where a lot of the test when we want to know when a band is open is actually tuning FT8. Absolutely. What else do we have? Gordon and Lyle, in a little over 2 months, will be starting the new Shortwave B21 schedules. A21. The B schedules are the ones for the winter. So we'll be at the A21 schedules. And it goes fast when you think about it. I mean, we move on and time just flies. It's just totally nuts. Totally nuts when you think about it. Randy, Riverside, California. Nice to have you on board. Spas Kostet. Nice to have you here from Germany. Jim White, only drink on 2 occasions, alone and with someone else. When I listen to shortwave at night, stuff like that. Or sometimes gaming. I've got my new gaming laptop, so of course I've been playing a lot of games and been having a lot of fun. Sometimes like a little drink, play a game, or listen to the bands and have a little something with that. As long as it's not going overboard, it's fine. Tom DXer, WPE2QED. Nice to have you on board from Hudson Valley, New York. Kathleen, it should be a way to update the firmware in the Texan. Yeah, there isn't. Unfortunately, all the Texan receivers that work with the possibility to upgrade firmware, you have to send it in, which is sad. It would have been nice if that USB port, for example, on Texan PL-330, they would have said, just plug it in and use this little software we made and update your firmware. That would be cool, actually. Stephen Wood, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Mike's Drapery, nice to have you on board from Southern California. What else do we have? KMTS is a new country station tonight, 7780. So, okay, they're going to be broadcasting via over WRMI's frequencies. So, cool. I'll be checking that out. KMTS. Chris, have you heard about the Texan PL-368, which is going to be a successor of the 365? It has a numbered keypad. Yes, I have seen a lot of it. Like all the others, right now, it's the Chinese version of it. So that's going to be an interesting one to see. I mean, the PL-365, or some of you have the Conicom GP5 version, which is the Conicom GP5 SSB, is a surprising little radio. The ETM scan is great. The form factor is unique, very unique in the way that it is made. I haven't used mine in a little while. I need to take it out. You guys remind me of taking out some of my radios that I haven't used in a while sometimes. One of the things I wanted to do, and I'm waiting, it's like it's the way it's winter. It's kind of difficult, but I could, I guess, just put on a jacket and still try it. Do ETM scan on telescopic between the PL-365 or Conicom GP5 and say the Texan PL-990X and see what they, how sensitive they are both in getting stations. But one thing for sure, that numeric keypad is going to change the game for that radio, because if it's as sensitive and as good as the original 365, man, that's a welcome thing. Because what is making me crazy about that Conicom GP5 PL-365? Darn, no keypad is a hell of a tuning experience. I mean, if I most of the time that I wanted to tune something that's completely out of band, it's so long doing it that you end up using another radio, which is sad. I actually ended up programming my Conicom GP5 with tons of specific frequencies that I can refer to that are as close as possible to whatever I'm going to want to listen to. So, for example, I've programmed 27,000 kilohertz in it. Why? Because it's the easiest way to get to the CB band without going crazy waiting for that scan or waiting for the up-down button to go to the frequency. It drives you nuts at some point. So by programming the frequencies in the memory channels in a certain way, it takes off some of that bad part of the PL-365. And, I ended up using the PL-365 almost exclusively for ETM scans because it does it very well. And because it does it very well and it's sensitive, for that purpose, it's great. Let's hope they also fixed another thing on the 368. For some reason, on the 365 and the Conicom GP5, the battery drains even when unused. So if you put batteries in it and turn on the radio, say you haven't used the radio for 3 weeks, you're going to turn it on, you're going to see their batteries are dead. There's a constant drain of the batteries, even when turned off, which is, I hope they have fixed that in the 368. Joseph Aikenbaum, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay, California. Yeah, usually it's Massachusetts that's all over the chat room. We have California now in the chat room, taking over. Joe Tyson, how does the PL-330 compare to the C-Crane Skywave SSB? My wife bought me a Skywave, and I need to decide if I should send it back. Okay, what would I say about comparing both? The Skywave SSB is a great radio, first of all, okay? And for those that wonder what we're talking about, here is... So here's the Skywave, and here's the Texan PL-330. If we look at the size of the radios, just to compare it, here's the size. You can see that they are, the PL-330 is slightly longer and a little bit taller. But not by much. They are very close in size. So what would I say about the C-Crane versus the Texan? Well, first, if airband monitoring on the VHF range and the NOAA weather channels is something that you like, then keep the C-Crane, that's for sure, because the 330 does not have airband, does not have NOAA weather channels. As for the sensitivity, they are probably very close. What makes the Texan PL-330, if it's fixed, better is the precision of tuning in single sideband is something that is enhanced compared to the C-Crane. I don't know exactly what to answer to that question, if you really should or not change that C-Crane for the Texan PL-330. If for you something that is important is if the radio breaks down, an easy way to return it and have warranty, and was purchased in the US, for example, through C-Crane's webpage or Amazon, well, you have that advantage that is a little, it's not that you don't have a warranty on the 330, but like we talked in the past, warranty has a lot more to do with where you purchase the stuff than the warranty the manufacturer gives you, because Texan receivers are all have a 1-year warranty on them. The problem is if you buy it from overseas, that's where it gets complicated with the warranty, because often they want you to pay for the return shipping, and so it's up to you. But Seacrane Skywave is nice. It's a great radio. Should you return it for a 330? I'm not sure. And remember, you've got airband and NOAA weather channels, which you will not have in the 330. Let's put it pretty much like that. Because the Seacrane Skywave SSB is a nice little radio, honestly. Kev Michael, nice to have you on board. Just recently received CFRB 1010. Got CBR, 1010 Calgary at 2:30 a.m. Wow, on your Bose Wave radio from Hawaii. That is nice. Hey, it's the touchdown guy, Sheldon Harvey. Nice to have you on board, my friend. What kind of battery? The PL-330. Like I said, it's the BL5C lithium-ion battery, which is a very common battery for Nokia phones of the past. Matt says, Radio Exterior de España. Is it off the air? Let's check it out here. Anything on 9690? Yeah, 9690 is empty for anything. 11940 is the other one. Got something on 11940. Let's check that out. It is actually on 11940. It's in Spanish, and I think that is Radio Exterior de España. But it is very, very weak compared to the usual frequencies. 12030, I don't hear anything. And 9690 is dead. They're maybe not on all their frequencies. Because 11940 is where I hear something. That sounds like Radio Exterior de España, but not very good signal. Yeah, well, you just noticed. But it's the only frequency I'm kind of getting it. Matt says, I had to wait a while for my AirSpy. First, it was on sale, and they had a backlog next US priority. Usually 2-3 days. Took at least a week to come because of early December. Yeah. PLF radio. DXing or Texan DAB 110. Shortwave radio with DAB. Let me check that out. See what it looks like. Oh, look at that. Yeah, DAB 110. DAB 110, DAB plus multiband radio receiver with Bluetooth. So that's interesting. If you live in Europe with the DAB format of HD, that would interest me. Like living in Europe, for example, that would be something that would be interesting for me. Having a DAB plus receiver with shortwave on it, that looks interesting. It's like if you would offer me a shortwave radio that has HD, North American HD format. I might be interested in that. So, what else do we have? Even with the noise, you can notice faults, and there's a lot of places I do get quite good reception. It's noisy, not everywhere the same, and I would be able to see a difference. I still can see a difference. Where I mostly want to look at it is the fact that there's too many people say that they receive signals on one that they don't on the other, and that I don't think it's the case. I'm still thinking that it's more of a setup situation with the software than it is one being that much better than the other. And what I see also a lot on the Air Spy is much more people loving the software of using SDR Sharp, for example, than they are actually of using the actual radio itself in performance compared to, say, because what I've seen the most in comments is mostly things like, oh man, the Air Spy is the way to go. SDR Sharp is amazing. Yeah, or it will see, well, SDR is crappy software. SDR Sharp is great, and I understand that. Okay, you're not talking of performance of your device. You're talking about, okay, you like SDR Sharp, and you're poo-pooing another software. It's a different thing than than the radio itself is good or bad. So there's a lot of things like that. So I can't wait. It's just going to be interesting to see. John Bray's USPS is a mess. I have a box waiting in Indianapolis, their distribution center, 20 miles away, for 5 days now. And by the way, guys, I'm half an hour behind in the chat room. Okay. One of the things is like here, Canada Post. There's an actual, so we have a year-end show here where it's we end the year every year in Canada on the CBC with in the French language with a humor show where they joke about what things happened in the year. And it was actually a joke on Canada Post where they lose your packages and don't know where they are after the time. I'll say that Canada Post has been going down the drain a lot in the last couple of years. I have the impression that they're not making enough efforts. And I've actually started liking more other companies to send me packages through Canada than Canada Post themselves. And I know that times are different, and I know that, because I find that there's way too much COVID bashing, where you use COVID as an excuse for tons of things. And I have the impression it's not like, it's not new anymore. We're, 9-10 months into it now. Yeah, I know it makes things a little complicated in some areas and stuff, but I think we're using that way too much as an excuse. Oh, look at that. We're going to say COVID. You'll get your package next week instead of this week. COVID. Yeah, come on. Okay. Canada Post has been going down the drain. And when I sent a couple of packages this year, late in the year, and they're like, so you want to pay for that extra fast shipping? And so it's like, yeah, so they're gonna get it tomorrow or day after. It's like, oh, we can't promise any day. So you wanted me to pay an expensive extra fee to tell me I don't know when it's going to be there. That makes nonsense. And you know what? What I found particularly, and I don't know if the US is the same, private companies do a much better job at telling you exactly when you get your package than here, at least Canada Post. I've noticed that every private company that has been used for delivery is a million times better. Oh, you're going to get it tomorrow. Oh, okay. Canada Post, how are you going to get it when you get it? Yeah, thank you so much. That's so much fun. Catalan, please show us the inside of the two PL-330 when you have them. Interesting to see the chipsets and board revision. Yeah, maybe the board yeah, there could be. That's for sure. They could have done some revision or some change on the board themselves, but I suspect that the biggest change is more in the firmware to fix some of the bugs. PLF radio, it's in the plans. We're going to check it out this year for that SDR. It could be an interesting one to look at for sure. If I would be a millionaire, I would have all of them. But we gotta choose what we buy. Ekadarius, nice to have you here. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. Joseph says, not shortwave, but late last night, randomly DX what seems like a non-directional beacon at 403 kilohertz long wave in California. I couldn't write down the Morse, but anyone have thoughts on what this could have been? You know what? There's Google DX Info Center non-directional beacon list, or NDB list. It's one of the most complete lists that you have on the internet. You look at that list, you'll find what non-directional beacon you were listening to. What else do we have? General Babby, nice to have you on board. So Bernie Dodge is saying AZC. So, Blind Picker, nice to have you here. Rob in Connecticut, W0RAB. It's surprising what you can get in distance on an undirectional beacon if it's quiet. I've noticed, and you know what? It gave me an idea of DXing a little more. I've noticed that I've been hearing more with the Texan PL-330X. I noticed I've been hearing more non-directional beacons lately. I don't know if it's propagation. I need to try that out more. I need to try that more. A Dinko 7 says I modified a flat black and white CRT like an old walk watch TV. Solkalf, nice to have you here. Hyperdim, Gaming and Astronomy. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Keegan, KXN80Xer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Gallon says, radio sold in Germany for the next year must be able to decode DAB. We are going digital. Cool. 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 I need to check that out. Maybe it could be fun tonight to do a little bit of NDB listening. Check that out. Okay. WF7I Umbrew, nice to have you on board. Enjoy listening about my brand new RSP Duo. Cool. Amazing, amazing machine. Difficult to pull away from the computer now. Absolutely. I mean, I just look at how I abandoned my ICOM ICRD500 when I got the SDR, the RSP devices. I mean, it's crazy. Wizard of Oz, KC9TVN, nice to have you on board. David Lewis, nice to have you on board from Pennsylvania. What else do we have? Yeah, you know what, Joseph? The GP5 and the PL-335, it has this weird scan way of doing things. And when you're in a band, it jumps. So you will be scanning and trying to get up to a band, and then it jumps. So a trick that I can tell you, Joseph, is if you're on the CB band, so if you have reached 27,000 kilohertz, for example, if you press the up or down scan buttons, it'll scan in that range. But once it gets into what it knows as a specific band, say 10 meters, it won't scan back down to it. It will kind of be trapped in a range. It's Very weird the way it does it. It doesn't do it in it's like, what would be fun is, you know what? Because the scan up down scan speed is actually fast enough that if you're not that far away, you can let it just scan to the frequency you want to go. But the problem is it has this weird way of scanning that it's kind of stuck in bands. And so you never get to where you want to go if it's out of a frequency range that it doesn't scan usually. It's so weird. Ipimtheus, nice to have you here from Colorado. Paul Noak, nice to have you here from Poland. Pretty cool. Vicky Pelletier from Montreal. Nice to have you here, Vicky. Pretty cool. Annie Coley, nice to have you on board. And you know what? I need to check out. There's a Amateur Radios of Canada is, I think, taking registration for the new course. And it's all done online via Zoom. Maybe it's time that I could do it. I would be able to do all of it from home. And you can even take the test, the ham test, I believe, via a Zoom with the official examiner. So that would be great for me because I would not have to go physically somewhere for the test. I need to check that out. Amateur Radio of Canada is doing it right now. So that would be my occasion to get my ham ticket, actually. EP1977, what earphones are you using? I love this channel. Thanks for it. So these are Audio Technica headphones. Joe Tyson, no problem for the answer. And I think just keep your Skywave. I think, is it worth it to do a switch between those two? I don't think so. I'm not sure. I think it's, keep your Skywave. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board. Dan V, nice to have you here from Ohio. Jean-Marc Letz, nice to have you on board. Bonjour et bienvenue de Strasbourg en France. C'est toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. And what else do we have? Robert Osborne, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls, monitoring shortwave bands and a GMRS repeater on the American side of the river. Cool. WF7I Homebrew, thanks for sharing the DX Info Center NDB list. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. EP1977, the grandfather used to have a CB radio with a big aerial, but as it could be used to listen to the police and military waves, we had to hide the aerial when Army patrolled in Northern Ireland in the 70s and 80s. Oh, wow. We never had we never had anything bad here that had us, go into such a situation. But I can imagine how it must have been something to, be in an area of the world where it's kind of frowned upon to tune in some, military or police communications, and you had to kind of do it in a secret way. That is something, it's like in the Eastern Bloc countries, trying to listen into foreign broadcasts, in the times of the USSR and all of that. You have to, you had to just hide. And, it's like we were saying the other day, there's a documentary. I don't know where you can find it, but it's a National Geographic's documentary. And I remember looking at it. It had part of the documentary. So documentary actually follows a crew that is actually a team that actually is smuggling stuff into North Korea. And one part of the documentary is it takes, maybe a quarter of the documentary talks about that. The rest talks about other things. But part of the documentary talks about one of the things they smuggle into North Korea is cheap shortwave radios. Because in North Korea, your radio given to you or that you purchase is actually controlled and tunes only North Korean radio frequencies. So it doesn't tune everywhere. There are two ways that people get outside international broadcasts. They were showing that those that are technical enough could actually open the radio and modify the state radios to tune something else. But the other way was to smuggle in shortwave receivers. And they were showing a box of shortwave radios that they would actually kind of sell or give to, they would, I guess, sell them for stuff. And I mean, imagine being in a state that is such a heavy controlled state. You just shut up, you take the radio, you hide the radio. I mean, being in a state like that, first of all, I would not have all of these radios because I would probably be in some kind of jail or some kind of forced labor camp. But, imagine you got one. What do? You hide it. I would have done something to hide it to make sure that, if the military or even the police comes over, they don't know that I'm using a radio that could be tuning in to, other to international broadcasts. And I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. They were showing that there was a guy that he actually was tuning international broadcasts, and his neighbor found out, and he called the police, and they came in, and the guy kind of disappeared, pretty much. And it's like, whoa, this is serious shit, Catalan says, Grundig Satellite has the DAB sign on the LCD, but it is not implemented. Perhaps only some models have it. Maybe it is just turned off in firmware. It's not impossible. Sometimes, for some weird reasons, they just keep a feature turned off, and just a little firmware modification turns it off. Sergeant Rock, nice to have you here. Sal Moralia, nice to have you here. Cat is sleeping. Eric Cottrell says USPS has problems as well. Yeah. I remember 10 years ago. The Canadian Postal Service, you would go and get something from, when I ordered, I still remember, when I ordered my ICOM from Radio World in Toronto, I ordered at 10 in the morning. Somewhere like at 2 in the afternoon, I got a confirmation that Canada Post had picked it up. Well, I was sure that I would get it the next morning because that's how the service was back then. I looked, so there was a tracking, and I remember I looked late at night. It already was in transit from Toronto to Montreal. I remember looking in the morning, and it said, well, it's at the Montreal, it's being sorted in Montreal at like 6 a.m. And I remember looking at the tracking, and it's like, it said something like 8 a.m. It's in a truck for delivery. And I had it the next day. And that was not something that happened from time to time. And it was not even expedited shipping. It was sent with standard shipping, which was like 2 days, with a tracking number. And of course, they had insurance on it because if it gets lost. And so it was not necessarily next day. It could have been 2 or 3 days, I believe, from the shipping they had chosen. But it was there next day. And I remember I would purchase stuff from eBay. I remember buying ink cartridges from this place in Vancouver because they were cheap, refilled, and they were really, really nice. And when I would get, okay, it's been shipped on Wednesday, and it was Vancouver, I was like, I'm going to get them tomorrow. And I would get them the next day. And that slowly, became longer and longer and longer. And this year is the crappiest thing. this year, Canadian Postal Service is one of the last choices I would actually choose now. Where it would have been for a long time the first choice, you know. Mark Elford, nice to have you on board. I thought Paul was filling in for you. It's just so funny because he came here yesterday, and he had like a lot of energy. He was looking all around and was like, okay. He climbed up on my lap, and I came close to the work table here, and he actually went on it. And when he actually moved on, I moved the microphone next to him, and he wanted to smell the microphone itself. And I thought, oh my God, it's time for an amazing picture. And I took that picture. I posted on my Facebook wall, and I put Paul the Cat is starting his own podcast. Joseph says, exactly, COVID is no longer an excuse. Get it together, people. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had all that time to fix it now. It's like, yeah, I understand in the first couple of months it's complicated. You had to readjust everything. But now it's not an excuse anymore. I'm sorry. Matt says the U.S. Postal Service problems came from its administration. They really can fix it if they want to, and I think they should. Yeah. Catalin Newman from Seinfeld was sure he was controlling the information. Probably he is holding the packages because it's raining. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I remember every time in Newman in Seinfeld, every time it was raining, it was like, oh. And Seinfeld would pass by. It's like, you're not working? Well, it's raining outside. Yeah, isn't that part of your job? It's raining outside. I'm staying home today. Joe Tyson. You guys, I could have had, just a little digress here. I could have lived a life of a postal worker. When I was 17, I think it was 17 years old, there was a postal strike. And they hired scabs. They asked, if you want to work at the Postal Service, we're hiring. And I remember they would. So my friend that had a DX100 also, he called me up and said, "Hey, how about we do it?" And I said, I was on the only thing I was thinking is the money. I was 17 years old. It's like, hey, I'm going to get a paycheck. I'm going to have some money to spend on something, And it was the summer, I believe. It was the year that I was going to college. I had finished high school and going to college. So I was 16, 17. Minimum age for working, I believe. And we filled out the form. What do we know? We get a call. And we were both at the same post office here near where I live. And we worked 3 days before the strike was over. And of course, because of the strike and everything that was happening, we never got out to, they trained us to go and deliver the mail to the house. And because there was a strike, they had drilled us on what do you do with your mail if somebody's, harassing you or wants to steal the mail from you. And they were showing us, just to go to the nearest mailbox and just drop all the letters in the mailbox or stuff like that, And so we never did deliver mail because we couldn't get out. The strikers were outside. They were really mad at the fact that there were scams, of course, which is totally understandable. But for 3 days, I would just, put the letters in the little squares where every address was like, and I remember being amazed. That was the most amazing thing. So it was the same postal office where I get my mail. So all the mail that came to me came through that postal office. And it's so funny because everybody had a square about this big for the letters. And I was receiving tons of letters from overseas with all the the shortwave stuff that I did. And so when I looked at my address, my postal address, I had this big space because I had so many letters and so many big letters that they actually had made my space bigger to make sure that everything can go in it. I was amazed at that. I was like, oh man, look at that. My space is huge compared to everybody else. I'm receiving a lot more mail than everybody. But end of the story, I was going to college in applied sciences. So we're in August, I guess. I got a call, actually, me and my friend both got a call. I had started my first week in college, and the call said, hey, we're looking for postman. And now that you're in, you filled out everything and you know some of the stuff. If you're interested, you got a job. And I remember I replied back, I'm not interested. Of course, you're, 16, 17 years old. You're in college. You want to conquer the world. You don't want to be a postal employee. That said, the funniest part is at the age I am now and at the early age I would have started, I would be almost at retirement. I would almost be at retirement already. And then it's a pretty good retirement too with Canada Post. But imagine that would change my life. I would have been a postal employee for maybe all of my life. I don't know. And, some people tell me sometimes it's like, well, you should have done it. You would have had a great life and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, I would have been, 30 years. It's not that it's, I don't want to down anything to anybody. I mean, so many people work all their lives doing the same job, and it's okay. But I couldn't see myself. I think about it now and I'm like, well, with everything that I did and everything that I went through and the fact that the last 20 years of my life have been self-employed, maybe I would never have been self-employed, which is something I truly find amazing. Maybe I would not be doing this. It's, it would have changed my life. Maybe I would have been a postal employee for 30 plus years and get a nice fat retirement check. And that would have been the life I had, I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes life, it's amazing the opportunities that you can have sometimes. Matt says, I like that Amazon is now taking pictures of the packages when they leave them on your porch. We have Prime, so I don't know if that's exclusive to Prime, but it's neat. You get an email notification. It's not, it's dependent on the carrier. It's not just a Prime thing, because before I had Prime, some of the carriers actually took pictures. I've noticed here in Montreal, at least, when I ordered a lot of crap from Amazon. They most of the time they take this little carrier that I don't have no idea who they are, but it's always like, this guy coming out of his car with a little package or something. And sometimes some have like little trucks, but I like that because they are amazing. What happens is that, so they tell you, okay, you're going to get that package tomorrow. And you look at the tracking, and that little company, Intelcom, something like that they're called, it's so cool. You go to their website, and they tell you, just to let you know, and you get even emails, just to let you know, your delivery number 35, and I am now at delivery 14. So you should get your package in the next 3 hours. And that they send you an email to let you know, which is nice because you can, if you have stuff to do, you can look at your emails like, well, I still don't have the email, so I can, maybe go to the groceries. I want to receive the package soon. And then you get that email, and you know that in an hour or two, you're going to get that package, which I really like. And they actually do, when it's delivered, they actually take a picture. And so when it says, you get an email saying, okay, your package is delivered. A couple of weeks ago, I was out at groceries, and I look at my email. It says, oh, your package is delivered. It's like, wow, already? Okay. And when I click on it, you see a picture of where they left it, which is very nice also. William Helms, TR-606 radio tape recorder came in 3 days early. Came 3 days early. Oh, cool. JJ, nice to have you here. Echo your comments. Canada Post. Yeah. Pretty crazy. You know what, Sal Morial, I believe I'm pretty sure I talked a little bit about non-directional beacons, but not that much. I have talked about HF beacons, but maybe it would be time to kind of update a video on non-directional beacons and stuff. Trojan Rock says, great comments on January 3rd, International Radio Report, best and worst shortwave polable radios. 74 degrees and humid in Hawaii. Such a paradise. Aloha. Cool. And thanks for this. It's that yearly thing. I kind of like doing that about, the good and the bad portable receivers out there in a year. Bill Curry and 8UUP says a little 27 megahertz activity going on here in Michigan. Let's do it old style. Let's turn on the CB. How about it? I'll leave I put the squelch on. I'll leave it on channel 6. If some sporadic escape happens, we're gonna get some of that activity. Eric Cottrell has been hearing a lot of Quebec non-directional beacons down here in Massachusetts. There's something definitely happening, because I've been hearing a lot more than usual. Wizard of Oz 43. My XH data radio sat in Greenwood, Indiana for 2 weeks, but it is moving again. It was supposed to be delivered January 8th. Oh, man. Isn't that, that's the worst thing, when you're waiting for a package and it just like stuck somewhere and you're like, oh, come on, do something. Andy, M3LUZ, nice to have you here. Michael Morancy, do you have any knowledge on the MFJ 1886 magnetic loop? I've read and seen a lot about it. I've seen a lot of people being quite happy with it, but don't have any experience with it at all. Kevin, nice to have you here. Send you a video link of the Texan 909X. Did you know you can connect to your computer with USB? The reviewer showed how to activate the feature. Oh, I didn't know that. The Texan. Okay, the Texan. Yes, absolutely. I know. Yes, for audio purpose. Because the 909X is the St. Gian. You're talking about the Texan 990X. Yes, absolutely. You have the possibility to have audio from your PC. It becomes basically a speaker, like an outboard speaker that is working from with the audio of your PC. I knew that. I have when I purchased, and I like Anonco a lot for that. Anonco is an amazing place to buy Texan receivers, because anything you need to know and anything that needs to be done on the radio, you get information about it. So when I got the Texan PL-990X, I got the hidden features PDF through email to tell me about all the features you can turn on or off that are not included in the instruction manuals. And they updated that. I received a new one a few days later because when the 990X came out, the instructions on how to calibrate it were totally wrong. So no one understood how to calibrate the darn thing until they resent the hidden features. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's how you calibrate it. It's super easy to do. But boy, the trick that they were showing you before was absolutely, it didn't work at all. Zero Sombra New House, nice to have you here from Brazil. Radioactive, nice to have you on board. Andy, new elec SDR with Ham It Up. You know what? If you are to spend an amount of money with all of that because you got an up converter and everything, you better spend your money on something that actually does it all from the start without any up converters or anything like the SDR Play devices or until I tested maybe the AirSpy HF Plus, but I would probably avoid anything that has an up converter to use with an SDR. John Doe in 2020, when the Pirate Act became law, the commission is now able to hit offenders with higher fines and go after property owners. Yep, we talked about it, but the FCC has no money. Yeah, it's gonna be one of the topics if you guys listen to the International Radar Report. It's part of the stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow on 90.3 FM. Remember, guys, a few things maybe to talk about. I am co-host with Sheldon Harvey of the International Radar Report on a Montreal station, which is CKUT 90.3 FM here in Montreal every Sunday morning. So if you live in Montreal or around the Montreal area, 90.3 FM, 10:30 a.m. Eastern here at Montreal time. You have the International Radar Report 30-minute show about radio. Sheldon and me host that, co-host that, and so you can listen on your FM radio and hear my voice and Sheldon's voice, of course. But you can also stream it if you're not near Montreal, ckut.ca, or any streaming software that you might use, Radio Garden and so on, that you can actually just search for CKUT 90.3 FM and stream at 15:30 UTC on Sunday, our International Radar Report show. So, of course, that's coming up tomorrow morning. Don't forget, guys, there's the January edition of the Messenger. Messenger is a publication, electronic publication from the Canadian International DX Club. It's not just for Canadians. It's full of information about radio. I have the utility column in there. Sometimes I have other stuff that I add also. It's a great little publication. You can ask for a free sample copy if you've never actually asked for them. That's very important. You cannot ask for two. If you asked for one in the past, don't ask again. But if you never asked, you can ask for a sample copy. CIDXclub@yahoo.com. CIDXclub@yahoo.com. And check it out. It's a very inexpensive way of getting tons of information about what's happening. And it's really, really cool. And so I have the utility column. There's a lot of stuff in there for pretty much everybody about radio. Mark Elford, there were two hams last night on the XH Data 808, 6795 lower sideband. They were loud and clear, but 6795 is not a ham frequency. You were hearing something else, because 6795 is not a amateur radio frequency. Bien sûr que je parle français, Vicky Pelletier. Absolument. Thomas Lane, nice to have you on board from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Actually, my French is my first language. I am, je suis un francophone du Québec. I learned English later in life. Well, when I was pretty young with my neighbors. I was playing around with some Italian friends that spoke only English. That's where my English comes from. Plus the fact that I was a bigger fan of listening to American TV. When we had cable, I was always on the American channels. It's funny because I saw that I was different from all of my friends in school because most of my friends didn't speak English much. So they were all stuck on what's happening in Canadian or Quebec French language TV. And I could say I was different because people would say, "Oh, you saw that, that show or that thing on TVA or whatever, or French CBC." And I was like, "No, I didn't see that." "Are you watching TV?" "Yeah, I do. I was watching a movie on CBS in English." I was attracted to English a lot, and it's cool because when I started shortwave listening, I was happy to be bilingual because there was so much more. And even today, I say it all the time, but I sometimes do not realize it. That when I say there's a lot on shortwave, I tune in a frequency, tune in some stations from, like an afternoon or an evening, and notice that, yeah, you did listen to a couple of French language shortwave broadcasts mixed into your English language broadcasts. It adds more stuff to listen to because you actually understand two languages, That's where I say sometimes I'd like to really understand well Spanish and have the capability with Spanish, French, and English. You had even more broadcasts that you can actually listen to tune in to on shortwave. Thomas Lane, nice to have you here from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I think I said hello, but hey, why not say it again? Randy Cummings, nice to have you here. Loop antennas were used for spy operations during the war times. Lair Nigel Lawrence, nice to have you on board. I was a guest on Amateur Logic TV New Year's Eve show. Oh, cool. KG0PL, that's nice. Catalan, in Romania and Eastern countries, CB is used for drivers to share police radar locations. In Germany, it's forbidden to keep the microphone in hand while driving. Here, I think the regulation, because you're not allowed to drive and handle your smartphone or your cell phone, but I think there's an exception for amateur radio and CB. And there's a lot of that going on here too. CB is sharing information about police radars. Wizard of Oz, have a C-Crane Skywave SSB. It is good to have the weather stations when you live in the woods of northern Wisconsin. Thomas Lane, is the XH Data D808 out of production? It doesn't seem available anywhere these days. This is an off and on phenomena, Thomas. When I purchased mine, it had been out for a while, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I couldn't find it in all the places that it's like the places they had it, they had it at like a really expensive price. It's a question of regularly looking. I have the impression, I'm almost wondering if because of its reputation, they're not manufacturing them fast enough to have enough available. But they are sometimes difficult to actually find. Absolutely. For the rest can I answer the question, are they out of production? I don't know. We don't even know who makes it. XH Data. What's XH Data? They are the maker of it. Where does it come from? It's one of those weird brands. Texan is a well-known company, and we know that they are in production of radios and stuff. But XH Data is one of those mysterious things that you're like, who makes your radios? Are you all making your own radios? Where did they come from? What's that? It's weird. Yeah, Paul is sleeping. Absolutely. So, Wizard of Oz just bought an XH Data D808 on eBay, $100. Been waiting for it for over a month. There are, if you go to the RadioWow store, the XH Data D808 is one of the radios they have on sale. It is available from there. I don't know for how much money, though. Laird Nigel Lawrence, I'm drinking a Fin du Monde ale, which is a triple style Belgian ale with 9%. So cheers. Chas Tank, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, we're 184 viewers. Not bad. Hello, Newman. Yeah, that's the way it was done. Arches All the Crafter's Kitchen. Hello, Newman. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Happy New Year to you too. Hey, ¿cómo está mi amigo? David from Donde, Barcelona. Long time no see. Nice to have you here. Happy New Year. Randy, okay. Wizard of Oz, China Post did well. USPS is terrible. Trump. That's the funniest part that I also noticed is that you buy something from China and it takes like 2 days and it's like 2-3 days. It's already at your, it says it's now at the country's destination. And it's like, it took, 2 days from China to Canada. It's going to take a week and a half or 2 weeks from wherever it is in Canada to my home. It's like, yeah, that's a service. But we got to be careful also. What about another thing is, like, for example, my AirSpy HF Plus. If they randomly choose that thing stays in customs for verification, it's going to take a month before I get it. This is another aspect where it's like, yeah, got held up by customs because some guy decided that thing looks weird. We got to see if you're a terrorist or something. I don't know. God. Thomas Lane, I retired from United States Postal Service back in 2003. We used to have serious delivery standards of service. Now, as they say, forget about it. Yeah, I think it's one of the same thing that is happening with the Canadian Postal Service. There was a seriousness, there was an importance to the service that they were giving us. And now it's like, WTF, Paris Tomopoulos, nice to have you here from Greece. Want to buy a Grundig Satellite 400 and Ethon Field BT non-Grundig edition. The Grundig Satellite 400 is known as, I believe, a pretty good radio. The Eton Field BT radio, a lot of people like it. I can't be too, I don't own the Eton Field BT radio. So, I know some, like I believe Keegan, XN80Xer has one. They're not bad radios, that's for sure. So I think you'll be happy, honestly. Gordon Lyle, I've had a package sitting in the Atlanta USPS distribution center since December 12th. Finally left yesterday on its way to me here in Southern Illinois. USPS is horrible right now. Wow. Vince, salut. Bonjour et bienvenue. Let's have you here, Vince Perrault. Let me go down. James Johnson says, yeah, seems like bills have no trouble getting delivered. Jetcrafter 4030 USB. Let's try it out. I got a strong ham on 80 meters, but I don't hear anything on 4030. There was one yesterday on 4030 also. It's become one of those popular frequencies for pirates. Let's try to accelerate our chat room stuff here and answer that question about solar activity. Thomas Lane, I regret not becoming a lifeguard in a car wash. Bill, nice to have you here from Seattle. Bike DXer, nice to have you here, my friend. Randy says if you sign up for it, USPS takes photos of all letters and packages coming to you, your mailbox that day. Robert Osborne, I've got Voice of America on 11720 playing music. Yes, at 11720 is one of those frequencies from, it's from, here we go. It's pretty good. So this comes from the Greenville transmitter site in the United States. Ricardo S., nice to have you here from Portugal. PageMaster, there will be a licensing fee here in the United States regarding amateur radio. Yeah, $35, I believe. $35. Yeah, we had that story on the Shortwave group that I shared. Bike DXer, a captain of a fishing boat that listened to foreign stations, and he got executed. It's sad. So sad to see the world like that sometimes. Yeah, when it's sporadic E-skip, Bill Curry, the 27 megahertz, 11 meters, it's like 10 meters. It can open with sporadic E-skip instant, in an instant, and last for half an hour and die out, or last for several hours. It's really, really when solar activity is not super high. Kamagzi 1976, nice to have you here from Michigan. Dennis Bertigezzi, nice to have you on board. Anna is the queen of customer service. Oh yeah, absolutely. Anonco is really, really great for customer service. Absolutely. What else do we have? Jim Gordon, nice to have you here from Scotland. Just ordered a used Sony Shortwave 07, supposedly a very good receiver. So cool. Eric Cottrell says CKUT also has a stream on TuneIn. So cool. And you can ask your smart speaker. You can, if you have a Amazon device, a Google device, you can ask. You can ask for streaming of CKUT 90.3 FM Montreal. What else do we have? Check it out. Yep, January issue. You know what? I need to renew my subscription. I totally forgot. Spectrum Monitor is another great publication. It's in the style of Monitoring Times, for those that know that magazine. It's electronic only, and I know a lot of people are kind of bogged down with that, but it's pretty good magazine. Comic 40s, nice to have you here. So the VHF UHF show, Dan V, is tomorrow at 21 hours Universal Time. We're going to talk about what's happening 30 megahertz and above, and I'll show you the telescopic antennas I've ordered from Amazon. RTM, nice to have you on board from California. Matt, Brazil DRM 11910 now. I think it's using the new codec that Dream 2.1.1 can't handle. Huh. Senor Cordero Lamas. Buenas tardes, Senor Gil. Question. My XH Data D328 can only listen to one AM station. The thing is, I hear it better when the antenna is collapsed. Do you know why this happens? It's a sign of an overload. One of the things that happens on receivers that have a cheap design, what often happens is that the receiver will desensitize. So if you extend the antenna, for example, and there's something strong around you, it actually overloads the circuit. And the circuit actually kind of just, the sensitivity of that amplifier just goes down to 0. So when you collapse the antenna, it actually lessens the amount of signal, so the amplifier gets back up a little bit. It's a common problem of cheap radios. Chastang, Louisville, Kentucky is named for King Louis XVI of France. The city emblem is the Fleur de Lis. Oh, that's interesting because you know that the Quebec flag is a blue flag that has Fleur de Lis or Fleur de Lis on the flag. There could be a lot of noise also in your area, but you know. Mr. Pig says, that's not a cat. It transformed itself in a human. Rich, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Has a Digitech AR1780. Very nice, but it chuffs when tuning around. Cheers. Yeah, it's typical of DSP-based radios, unfortunately. Abe Lincoln, connected 990X to my Mac on Bluetooth like you suggested. Turns out it has a microphone in it. Yes, you can make calls. If you actually, if you pair it with your phone and your phone isn't in a room, you would be actually able to answer a call and talk because of the microphone within the 990X, which is a kind of a very unique thing for a shortwave or multiband radio. Kenneth McKinsey, I used to give the location of my police cruiser when I was patrolling the expressways. I would rather deter careless drivers than issue a citation. Yeah, well, that's a way of thinking too. You know, I mean, if everybody knows where the radars are, everybody slows down. So anyway, slows down. So, you know, less deaths on the roads automatically. Jim Garden says there are many D808 available in the UK. Amazon has the lowest price. Yeah, that's the problem, Jim, is that Amazon, depending on where you are, don't have the same products. So you might see them in the UK, but if you type the same or search for one of the XH data here in Canada, it might not show up. David says, Happy New Year. Appreciate your efforts at Spanish. Man. What else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Jim Gordon, thanks for all that you do for us. What can you receive like just now on 6,000 kilohertz? There's always a heterodyne at night on it up there in Scotland. Well, 6,000 often is Cuba, but it's too early for Cuba right now. But let's just go here. There is Mali on 5995 right now, right here. So this is Radio TV Mali 5995. $59.50 is WRMI with some music. So 5995 Mali. Vatican Radio in Mandarin on 6185. (6180), I believe, is Radio Nacional Amazonas. Low audio though. (6115).
I hear the history teacher was dressed so great. Of course.
WWCR with its whining transmitter.
Most of the classes, you didn't even take notes when you were there. Amazing. Why so amazing? I knew the material better than anyone. Be careful. God hates pride.
SupremeMasterTV.com/worldwide. Our programs are from many languages. Please visit SupremeMasterTV.com.
Supreme Master TV on 5800, also from WRMI transmitter.
LinkedIn, Reddit, TikTok, Tumblr, and Twitter in multiple languages by searching Supreme Master TV.
In today's news.
So 5995 is the most exotic thing right now, with Radio Mali. But in the evening, 6,000 kilohertz is usually Cuba. John Doe says Alan Wiener last night was livid about all that was happening. Oh man, I haven't heard that show in such a long time. A lot of crafters. Kitchen says, thankfully I've been unable to hear Alan Wiener for months. Yeah, I'm off that guy too. Tired. Yep, Vicky. In 3 hours' time, we'll have a curfew where we can be outside. That's a first. Something I've never lived through in my life here in Quebec. J.D. Williamson, nice to have you here. Leonard Lakey, late to the party. I have a Blue Dolphin RTL SDR, not very happy with it. What do you recommend? You know, if you have one, and I'll say it again, I think it is really what you should get. If you have only one SDR, shed the money to get it. It's not that expensive. Well, you know, depending on the money you have, but it's 119 US, and it's the SDR Play RSP1A. You will, from the start, have an SDR that it's worth tuning around. It's a wideband receiver from long wave all the way up to 2 gigahertz, and it does a great job at what it has to do. So if you have one to buy, if you have to find an SDR or want to try an entry-level SDR that really works well, I think the SDR Play RSP1A is still, price versus performance, the best SDR, the SDR Play RSP1A. What else do we have? What else do we have? Leonard Nigel says, I'll join you with a real ale from Harper's Brewing Company, Golden Ale, 4.1% in the UK. Cool. Yeah, FCC amateur license. Yeah, it's a way of government getting money. That's for sure. Cool, J.D. Williamson. Nice to know that you're still here and alive and well, my friend. All right, JD Dakota, why bother to send out a signal that can possibly be used by any type of receiver. It seems like a waste of time and electricity. Remember one thing, RJ Dakota, the broadcasts from Brazil are not meant to be international broadcasts in nature. We hear them because shortwave is like that. It's like that 5995 radio TV Malian. Mali is broadcasting to their own country. And they are not, we are receiving them here, but it's meant to be for the country. Brazil is the same thing. And what I understand from Brazil going DRM is that they might probably implement some kind of DRM receivers for their own area. One of the biggest problems with DRM, and I still have that, not only is it tons of interference on the bands, what I find peculiar about DRM broadcasts is I find that it's like everybody thinks going DRM is the way to go for future, when in reality it's like, no, you're cutting yourself off so millions of listeners. It's as if they think it's a miracle cure for shortwave broadcasting when it's actually not at all. It's more a nuisance or anything. Oh, really? Montreal is a sister city of Louisville. I didn't know that. Is the mic in the 990X very good? Actually, I recorded myself on my phone, voicemail with it, and it sounds really good. Really good. But like I said, RJ Dakota, remember that Brazil's signals are made for the country. They're broadcasting to Brazil and not for an international audience. So maybe they're thinking that it could, be something in the future. I don't know. It's crazy. What else do we have? Yeah, it is a test broadcast for the time being. Jim Gordon, 6000 is a bit of mystery frequency. Does Radio Vanucuba use high power? I don't know what's the power that Radio Vanucuba drives on 6000, but it is the signal level is always good. But then again, North America here is that not far from Cuba, so you don't need that much power to be getting a signal. So they could be using only 50 kilowatts and still make it really well, probably. But they're on all night on that frequency 6000 here. They're on I think until 05 or 06. I think they're on until 06 UT. Yeah, I'm not sure if it actually helps or not, Abe Lincoln, because remember that it's a tuned circuit. So modifying the loop size of the ML-830 might actually detune it. It might actually tune it for a different frequency range. Mark Elford, Jill has an analog reflex region medium wave for the last 45 years. Learning the new digital arena has been a lot of mind work. It's pretty overwhelming. It is definitely, it is definitely a learning curve, and that is, a big change when you come from old style radio. That's for sure. And I'm fortunate because my, being so many years as a tech guy and being tech fluent, let's say it like that, is of course making me or enabling more, it makes it easier for me to probably do that And we got to remember that. I mean, SDRs are great, but do you recommend using an SDR to somebody that barely knows how to send an email? That's a different thing. It's like, yeah, you're asking somebody that's not very tech savvy to use a computer with a radio, and you don't have to go that far. You know what? I've had a few people tell me I got an XH Data D808, and I'm a little baffled with all of its functions and how to activate them and use them. And we gotta be careful in when we talk tech or we talk radio or talks, because we're not all at the same level, and it's harder for some than others. For modern receivers are complex things. I mean, look at the Texan PL-330X and look at all the buttons in front of that thing, plus what it does, and the different connectors and everything. It's easy to get lost because it does so much. And if you come from an era of more analog style radios with less buttons and less features, but that do that same job, it's interesting. You got to be careful because you can lose people easily. John, I am using my ML-330. Yes. PageMaster, shortwave radio is the ultimate social media platform. Cool. David, our curfew here in Barcelona is 22 hours to 06 local time. I barely step outside the QTH these days, so I really don't notice. Yeah, this is the time, except for the time when I would go out at a bar or something. I am not out usually at that time. So it's like, that 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew is, for me, is going to be like, what? I'm home anyways most of the time there. And, I always have that joke anyway when the confinement hit the first time. I was always joking on my Facebook page and saying to everybody, well, now that everybody's going crazy because we're in confinement, I noticed that I've been living in confinement for the last few years. Oh, God. Blue Sun 267 is asking, has anyone gotten hold of new St. Gian ATS 909X2? Have the improved sensitivity, audio distortion, and so on? I know that they're starting to come out and they're starting to have people tuning and playing around with them. I need to check the there's a website that I need to check because I got an email from someone saying, hey, this guy's got a really, really nice big review of it. He's been testing it out. And I need to read it because part of my knowledge and part of why when I talk about radios, even when I don't actually own them, is often reading what others think about it, especially when the reviews are good, or when the person that reviewed it actually knows what he's talking about. It gives you a definite good idea already, WF7I Homebrew says he's very impressed with the support online, documentation, and videos for the SDR Play products also. Kind of a nice change from other examples out there. Yeah, they do a lot of work. SDR Play does a lot of work to support talk and the live feeds and stuff to, educate on how to use them. You got to give them credit for that, absolutely. Jean-Marc Litz, I must relocate to a new flat during 2021. The first flat available has 2 balconies, one facing south, the other facing north, with no tall building nearby. With new radio, should I use 2 ML-330s? I would say just for practical purposes, if if they're pretty far apart, why not have two? When you're in one part of the house, you use the one in the back and one in the front. Here it's interesting. I have noticed a huge. That's where sometimes I wonder about a lot of the people talking about how performance differs on the MLA-30. I have noticed that there's a lot of difference from my MLA-30 being used in the backyard balcony and from the front balcony in noise. But also I noticed that there are frequency ranges are better on the one in the back. And I suspect that maybe is because, noise isn't necessarily an even thing. Noise could be up and down depending on the frequency ranges. And I suspect that maybe it's because in the back, a certain spectrum of my shortwave frequency is less noisy than it is in the front. In the back, also, it's difficult to really assess, but I got a big metal shed. And even though the MLA-30 I have in the back is about 5 feet from the metal shed, I suspect that even though it's 5 feet away, it still has an interaction with it. Because it's a big metal, shape that isn't that far off. So it's interesting. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But, hey, why not try two and see the difference? One of the things that I was thinking when I got multiple MLA-30 was orientation. If you have one east-west, well, put the other one north-south and see the difference there, because there is a difference. Kind of interesting. Kathleen, what camera are you using? This is a Logitech 920C. Logitech 920 Charlie. It's a great, inexpensive. Well, it's more expensive since we're in confinement. People are buying cameras, but it's a great webcam. Others like Crafters says, no one I know has embraced DRM. It will always be a curiosity at best. Yeah, I think. Matt says private companies can afford to develop tracking technology better since they're not bound to serve every single physical address in the country. Paulie, a step. Nice to have you here. Matt is seeing a lot of CW signals on 40 meters. Eric says, I still cannot get enough signal to decode DRM on 11910. So, yeah, not strong enough. Rich, MLA-30 mods, leave the loop and fix the coaxial cable, short and high quality coax. It doesn't matter, honestly, Rich, because what you get there is an amplified signal from an amplifier. It doesn't act the same as if you would get a weak signal from a regular wire antenna. Everybody that did a modification to put high quality coax on it, I've seen no difference. Everybody that did it right, I've had a lot come back to me and say, you know what, I put high quality coax. I see no difference. And there is no difference because you're not dealing with the same thing. It's very important to understand that what you're getting from the MLA-30 is a amplified signal pushed through that coax. It's a thing to have a coax. If you put that coax on a simple wire, it's a passive antenna. It has to deal with the weakness of whatever is on the wire going through your coax. And of course, the shielding and the quality of it will be extremely important. But when you amplify the signal and you push an amplified signal through that coax, there isn't that much of an importance on the quality of the coax. It's not the same thing. You're getting a signal, a strong signal coming from the amplifier rather than a weak signal in a cable. So pretty much everybody, I've read a lot on the MLA30 because I was curious. I am very curious at that too. I was curious at does it change anything to change the size of the loop, the thickness of that thin loop wire, or change the coax? And a lot of people did all of those experiments. I've read a lot on that. What I have seen and what seems to be pretty much what is happening is changing the size of the loop. When I talk about size, I mean the physical diameter of that loop with copper wire or copper tubing, if you want. You keep the same size, but you put copper tubing for it to be more solid, more rigid. No difference. And you accept, of course, when it's in the wind, it's not like the MLA30's little wire that can move a little bit. But, mine has been there for it's the second winter. And I don't even see why we should change anything on that thing, because it's been rugged and worked well. The other thing is, like I said, everybody that has done a mod, most of the ones that I've seen are for convenience. I put a connector and I put a BNC or whatever to make it more easier for me to, plug in coax and stuff. But what comes out of a lot of the tests that I've seen is using an high quality coax, or rather than the MLA's own coax or own little wire, doesn't change anything. Pretty much almost everybody I've talked to or exchanged with that, they all say, you know what, didn't change anything. It's a very different beast. An amplified antenna, don't forget, is not like a passive wire or a passive antenna. It's a very different thing to deal with. John Doe has 9330. Sunshine Rock, great show. Looking forward for the International Radio Report Sunday with Sheldon. Aloha. Cool. Take care, my friend. Kathleen had some fascinating story about some Russian spy in the UK who was sending his information over shortwave back in the day. Cool. Yeah, there are different beams for 9330. Oh yeah, the screaming preacher is you always laugh at the screaming preacher. John Doe, do you like the metal buttons versus plastic on a 990X, other than why are metal knobs preferred? It's simply a question of making it higher end and higher class receiver, basically. Honestly, there's a grasp and a feel of the buttons that's nice, but it's more of a question of they decided to go metal knobs. It's a higher end radio, so they thought they'd put higher end knobs on it too. But it feels great. I mean, the knobs do feel great, but if they would be plastic, I don't think I would have changed it. It would not have changed my mind on buying it or not. But they make it nice. It's a nice radio with that added to it. It adds a little something. Mark Alford says that was my first tech radio XH data, and now I'm using the Belka DX unit, and things are changing on the antenna money. My answer to region reflex was hunting antenna Morse code. I'm catching up. Kevin, here's just find where I was. Okay. Kevin says, I see the Sanjian 909X2 comes out January 28th. 459 pre-order. Yeah, some people already have it. There's kind of a first batch that was out, and I've seen that a few people got one. So, Vince 6501, get weather really clear in Montreal. Talk about Gulf of Mexico. What and where is this station? Yeah, the Gulf, not golf as a golfing place, but Gulf of GULF, which is the Gulf of Mexico. So 6501 is Chesapeake, Virginia. It's a maritime station. I don't know if it's still there. Probably gone now. It's from Chesapeake, Virginia. It's NMN, Chesapeake, Virginia. The U.S. Coast Guard HF voice frequency. There, Nigel, what is Canadian radio station you're doing your show? Is it possible to listen online in UK time in afternoon? 1530 UT. Just find CKUT 90.3 on Radio Garden, on TuneIn, or on these websites, or go to ckut.ca and tune in at 1530 UT. If you miss it, you have the show is archived. You could go to ckut.ca and go to the archives and search for International Radio Report. So, Anesla, I did not, because I've seen too many people do mods, and I've of cables and loop differences that seem to not do much. Radioactive just received an email on 40 meters using my HF radio connected to my computer. Very handy when the internet is down locally. Arthur's Ali Crouch's Kitchen, my ML-330 is stock. Never found a need to mod it. VT Radio, nice to have you here. Paul AA1SU from the 6 Junction, Vermont. And nice to have you on board. Okay, cool. So David says, I use good quality, low loss air cell 5 coax on my modified ML-30. Reason is the coax has double shielding, which I guess helps in rejecting noise, especially on long wave and medium wave. Yeah, I'm not convinced. It would be nice if you had this, like if there would be a way to have the stock one and the one that you added, and to switch from one to another and see a visual aspect of it. Because the reason that I'm saying that is that remember that you're getting an amplified signal from the amplifier, which is different from a passive. Like I said, different from a passive antenna. That's where I'm not convinced it actually does a difference. Yes, I understand, even though it's an amplified signal sent, if there would be a lot of noise, I would guess it could, yes, have a difference. But it'd be fun to see a way to compare that. Kathleen, sometimes see overload sign on the SDR. No, where can you actually burn the SDR? No, absolutely not. It's just when you see overload, it means that your RF gain is pushed too high. Lower the RF gain. The indication of the overload is an indication. It's mostly there to let you know that because the device is being overloaded, it might actually have spurious signals that should not be there. It's basically just to let you know to bring down the RF gain a little bit. You cannot burn the SDR unless you transmit to it. You would really, really need to, ramp up some power in it to burn the SDR. WF7I Homebrew. Most coax has negligible loss at HF and runs much less than 100 feet. Even 3dB, which is losing half your power, is less than an S unit. And if antenna is amplified, it probably makes up for cable loss. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing that happens with an MLA30 or a loop, an amplified magnetic loop antenna, is that it's amplified. It's a amplified signal pushed in the coax. That's where the changes to a high quality coax doesn't do anything. It definitely does if you have a passive antenna, though, because that's different. You're getting a very weak signal in there. But the MLA30 is amplified, or any amplified antenna, it's pushing a really strong signal already in there because it's an amplified signal you're getting. It's different. So, Rich, thank you for explaining MLA30 mods. That's that's my take. I mean, I'd like to see actual real world. Let's compare this and that and see for sure. Tom DXer, wouldn't using a better shielded coax on the MLA30 help curing off the coax in a very noisy environment? Look, it's not that it is impossible that it would get noise. But because the signal is an amplified signal, the effect I think the effect would be very negligible unless you are in a really crazy noisy environment. VE2FGJ, inside the MLA30 Plus, have you tried to change the gain adjustment? Worth trying. Your comments. I have not on mine, but I've seen some that did play with the gain adjustment. That is apparently real hard to go to because of the gooey substance they put in it. I've not seen that much talk about it. Kathleen's been thinking of using the U-loop coax with the MLA30. Crittenden Total 4, I agree. The MLA30 is perfect as the MLA30. Yeah, absolutely. Rich, the metal knobs on my PL-880 has a very smooth roll resistance, and it's luxury not needed. But I love the feel. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a question of feel. It adds to the beauty of the radio, and it adds to the feel. But they would have been plastic. We would have dealt with it. PT Radio activity on 40 meters is the North American QSO party, CW style. Let's check it out. Anything there? Yep, a lot of stuff there. Look at that. Tons of activity. Tons of Morse code in there. Tons of Morse code in there. George M. Nice to have you on board from Brazil. What is all crafters? I think because the MLA30 stock coax is thin diameter, that is going to be bad. It's decent, easy to run under Windows, and well enough insulated. Yeah, but it's bringing in an amplified signal, so it can deal with it, I think. Because, of course, it makes it much easier to bring in anywhere. That's for sure, because it's thin. It'd be interesting. I'd like to see some real, Catalan, the noise is coming from space. Son, would you get noise up in space? So noise is something that is everywhere. The basic noise, if you'd had absolutely no noise sources around you and have a very sensitive radio, would be the background radiation noise of the universe. So if we remove, because here what we deal with mostly here in our environment is noise that comes from human-made noise. But yes, the sun can produce noise. Actually, in times of as solar activity and higher solar activity, it actually has it can actually induce noise in the bands and in the different frequency ranges, for sure. If the sun gets more active, has more sunspots, it's a noisier sun, technically. But in overall, like on shortwave, there could be some solar noise, but technically it's mostly earthbound noise that we get. And yes, in space, there's going to be noise from different sources of noise around the universe, basically. David, the reason antennas like active loops or PA0 RDT milliwave are amplified is because they pick up much weaker signals than normal passive antennas. So the preamp brings those signals up to the same level as those of passive antenna, but there's no extra amplification beyond the signal strength those passive antennas supply. Yeah, I know, but because they bring it up to par, they still push a signal. Remember one thing, they're pushing a signal. It's an amplified antenna. That signal going to your radio is pushed to a strength, a specific strength. It's not just amplified within the amplifier. It's pushed to a certain strength. And it kind of helps it avoid some of the noise a little bit in a cheaper coax, if you want. Because it amplifies, but it still is sending it. It's not just amplified and that's it. It has to amplify it and has to push it in some way. It's pushed in a specific manner, but it's still, from my understanding, it still makes it less of a problem for a coax of high or low quality than a simple level that's there of a weak signal. But once again, it'd be interesting to experiment. Artist Crafter's Kitchen says, running an MLA30 Plus experiment on medium wave, performance on Renegade 800. Out of all my radios, easily best medium wave performer. Amazing sensitivity. RT Music Production. Nice to have you here. Vince, I'm going to make a test video for that. I'm sure RG6 will make difference on noise level. Well, I'd like to see that, Vince. It'd be interesting to see that, honestly. Radioactive, do coronal hole streams affect the background noise we receive? Is the noise higher when coronal hole streams stronger? The interaction of the sun and of the shortwave spectrum is a very complex thing. So a coronal hole is simple. It's a place where the magnetic fields of the sun are weaker, so it lets a stream of solar wind go through. So it's more powerful. And And it is interesting because it technically, it's how do you assess if the noise is solar or not? That's really something that's to deal with. It's difficult to really know because if a coronal hole happens, you'll have more solar wind. More solar wind means there's probably going to be an interaction with the geomagnetic field of the Earth. Might make signals weaker, so seem more noisy, but is it because it's more noisy? It's mostly because it's weaker. It's a very difficult thing to assess exactly what happens. One thing for sure is that the higher the solar activity, for example, the more noise the sun sends out. We know that. But to what extent? And remember, the ionosphere is working in two ways. Is that if a signal from Earth bounces off the ionosphere at 15 megahertz, a signal from space at 15 megahertz will bounce off into space on that same ionosphere. That's something you got to know also. So, we know that the sun does sometimes induce higher noise levels on shortwave, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. What else do we have? Yeah, that's one thing that we know, that powering the MLA30, like David says, powering the MLA30 amplifier with its 12 volts directly probably and possibly lowers noise because there's an up converter going on. When you power the bias T, or if you power the bias T of the RSPDX like I do, the up conversion from 5 to 12 volts possibly adds noise. That's possible. That'd be interesting, Vince. I'd like to see the results. Really like to see the results. Canadian Radio TV guy, where did you order your PL-330? Because it's not available on an Onco before January 11th. If you have ordered it before, you're getting the Chinese version. Mark Schmidt, nice to have you on board. Andy, 2008, over the internet. But it'd be interesting. I want to see the results, Vince. So be very, very interesting. Be very, very interesting. That's for sure. You should have waited, Canadian Radio TV guy. The export version is now available. It's available on a non-co for $59.99 US. You might have had more recent firmware update that fixes the bugs. I mean, you're still going to have a nice radio, but so close to the official release. So, it's kind of interesting. So, that's something to check out. That's for sure. So, Vince, if you do your test, I want to see the videos. I want to see the test. It's going to be interesting to see. That's for sure. It's it's a very complex universe when you think about it. All the interactions and all the things, and it's part of the I think part of the fun of our hobby, testing out and playing around, anyways, and checking out what works and what doesn't. Is an interesting part of all of this, and it's fun to take the time and experiment. I mean, you want to modify your antenna, modify it. And try stuff, and you never know. You might improve a design by doing something, for sure. Okay, Canadian Radio TV guy. Kind of interesting. I mean, there's some interest in there. It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, well, Canadian Radio TV guy, we didn't know when it was going to be released and everything. I mean, honestly, one of the things that you just got to understand is that there's the little bugs, the reverse tuning bugs, stuff like that. But it's still a great radio. And, if they fix the bugs, that's pretty much, I think, the only thing they will have done, because the radio itself is still going to perform probably the same. So, you still got a nice radio there. I mean, I got a Chinese version. At $59.99, I'm tempted to buy the export version. But I'm not going to buy it thinking it's going to perform better. I would buy it thinking that it probably has the reverse tuning bug fixed and the firmware update fixed a few things, Because performance-wise, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Take care, Danv73. Stay safe. Sometimes we want to have a radio before everybody, and that's it, Lacrosse, nice to have you here. We're talking about the Texan PL-330, which is the brand new Texan receiver coming out Monday from Nonco, which is this receiver. This is the Chinese version, but really, really really nice. It's the export version is officially coming out on Monday from Anonco. If they fix the bugs, it's a surprising portable for the price. Might be one of the top radios for the year. Canadian Radio TV guy. Well, you can have the PL-990 X from an $235 US is the cheapest price for the 990. I don't think there's any place else I've seen it cheaper than that. Artists, all crafters, ML830 experiments in themselves can be an incredible sub hobby. Possibilities are endless. Yeah, it's just the fun of it, It's just the fun of radio in general, So show it again. So this is the Texan PL-330. Let me just do it here. So there we go. With very precise tuning, I got to say. More precise than most portables, with the up to the 10th of a hertz tuning in a single sideband. It has sync detection. It is DSP based, so it actually mutes on tuning, though. It does use the Silicon Integrated's DSP chip in it. But it's surprising for the price. At $59.99, if the bugs are fixed, this is one of the top radios around. Sound quality is okay. Sensitivity, pretty good. I need to make more videos of it on the channel so that you guys see a little more performance out of it. So, yeah, probably the SI4734, 4735 family of DSP chips. For sure. For sure. So mine is the Chinese version, so I ordered it on eBay. But Nonco, which is the official dealer of Texan products, is going to start selling it starting this Monday, January 11th, and it is the best price you can have. So here's the link to the details. So you're going to be able to start ordering it So it's $59.99 US. You see, if I tune FM, my best test for FM here is, so let me just check it out here. My best test for FM is, whoops, this is the bandwidth. FM is the VPR station coming out of Burlington, Vermont. So there's a lot of interference here, but
also to lift up women in public life. I mean, apart from your personal connection to elected office through your aunt, do you think there's something particularly important about that? Absolutely. I mean, it's about women in leadership, right? It's about...
it is getting the VPR station on 107.9 with just a collapsed antenna. Now, there's a lot of noise because there's too much stuff here, but it seems to be a decent performer on FM. WF7I, when thinking of RF signal losses, it's helpful to use dB and dBm units. Example, if the RF noise floor of your rig is minus 100 dBm, signal on minus 90 would be heard at 10. Yeah, I understand. It's interesting. Kind of interesting to check that out. You know, let's do something here. For example, if I use the C crane I have here and try the same FM station signal. Let me check that out. So this is air FM channel 7. Oops. That's fun when you don't use a radio for a while. FM. Here we go. So it's on CKUT. Let's try the same thing on the C crane, just out of curiosity. It's got the same noise, but
Thanks for being with us. We hope you'll stay safe and have a great night.
But they are getting it, so it's if it wasn't for the interference around here, I think it does a decent job on FM. So hey guys, we've been on for almost 3 hours. I'm gonna say goodbye for the night. Play around with those MLE30s and show me your videos of coax and stuff. And it's nice to have you here. And tomorrow is a VHF UHF show. So if you are interested in what's happening 30 megahertz and above, and have me show you off the 2 antennas that I've purchased on Amazon that are wideband telescopics for scanner radios. I'm going to show you that tomorrow. So that's going to be cool. Sounds good. Rufus, I'm going to have pork chops for my dinner tonight. So take care, my friend, and I hope you enjoyed tomorrow. 21 hours Universal Time tomorrow on the VHF UHF channel for 30 megahertz and above. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Thank you very much for being here, being great fans. It was nice to have you on board as usual. Stay safe, and see you tomorrow on the VHF. Or remember, we're here twice a week. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours Universal Time. Or Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours Universal Time. And Yarabamba says the curfew in Quebec excuse for more shows. We'll do a show every time there's a curfew. And want want to thank you all for being great fans. And of course, we'll be here talking about radio as usual. So come on, guys, show me your modified MLA-30s and blow my mind. And thanks for being here as usual. So we got a request for Moscow Nights. Okay, let's go here. Let's check it out. Moscow Nights. Radio Moscow. Sign off with our usual theme of Radio Moscow, playing Moscow Nights in the 80s on Shortwave. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Do stay safe. It's very important to do so. This is the World Service of Radio Moscow. I've had no copyright complaints about Moscow Nights at all. At all.